All right, here we go. We are going to start the final draft for the architecture project. So you are going to have a couple different options. Obviously, eventually we are going to be doing this with pen, but we are not there yet. You want to do the entire drawing with pencil. Now, how do you set the pencil up is going to have to be measured out with a ruler, because if you remember, with our template that we already set up, the template is going to look something like this. So we have 9 boxes, and just like with our hands project, we need to make sure that we divide up our paper into 9 boxes. Now the way that we do that is we need 3 columns and we need 3 rows. So I do have Kendall here with me today. Kendall, can you say hi? Say hi.
Hi.
Kendall's my 3-year-old daughter. She's here helping out today on a Sunday, prepping for the week. So what you can do is you're going to have 2 different options. You're going to have an option where this paper is 12 by 15 inches. And then this paper over here is going to be the most commonly selected paper, which is 9 by 12 inches. Okay?
What are you doing?
I'm making a video for the kids. Is that okay?
And me?
And you, yeah. Okay, so you watching? Okay. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna select your paper. To be honest with you, I would expect most of you to pick this size paper. A matter of fact, the only people I want selecting this bigger paper are the kids that received an A during the first 9 weeks. I think that's a pretty good rule of thumb. The reason is because we want to make sure if you do select the larger paper, this is going to be much more time, which means you have to have something called time management. Kendall, can you say time management? Close enough. Okay, so you have time management. If you don't have time management, that probably means you didn't, maybe you struggled on a couple things during the first 9 weeks. To be honest with you, this is going to be for kids that are usually pretty good with keeping up with the projects. Now, obviously, as we've talked about in the past, I usually recommend going bigger on your projects, because if you go bigger, usually it looks nicer on the wall and in different art shows and things like that. Here's how we get started. I'm going to do this on the 9 by 12 inch piece of paper. So we have 9 inches this way, and we have 12 inches this way. If I need to divide it into 3, what I do is I take my measurement from 0 to 12. 12 divided by 3 equals 4. So what I need to do is I need to take my ruler and put a mark at 4. And then 4, another plus 4 is 8, so I put a mark at 8 right above that inch line. Take my ruler, slide it to the bottom, go from 0 to 12, put a mark at 4 and a mark at 8. I can now take my ruler, line up my points. I can
colored that paper.
No, not that paper. You can go color the paper for Grandma. I'm going to hold my pencil towards the end so that I can draw a nice light line, lightly drag it. Remember, if I don't see it, if I don't see the line, or if I see too much of it, it's probably going to be too hard to erase. So I want to lightly drag down the middle. Now I got to measure my other sides. And so what I want to do is I'm going to take my ruler, and I know this is 9 inches, so 9 divided by 3. Shh. I'm making a video for the kids.
And for me?
It could be for you too, yeah. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So I put a mark at 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. Go down to the bottom. Put a mark at 3 and a mark at 6. Take my ruler, connect my points, draw a very light line. Draw a very light line. Now I have my boxes. Okay, now from here, this should be pretty easy. We've done this before. Hopefully everybody understands, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start sketching out my architecture. What I want to do with my architecture is I really want to make sure architecture has a lot of common principles for example, it has a lot of parallel lines. It has a lot of perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines make these things called 90-degree angles. And what that does is it makes our architecture stable. Okay, because when you think about it, a lot of this architecture, especially this one, has been up for hundreds of years. And if it's been standing for hundreds of years, that means it's been undergoing hundreds of years worth of gravity. And the way that you can counteract and you can fight gravity is if you have things standing straight up and down. And if it's straight up and down, what that means is the architecture is actually, if you consider the ground a flat line, the architecture is actually perpendicular to the ground. Okay, and that's what keeps it upright. That's why when you walk down the hallway, you're not walking slouched over to the side. You're standing upright. You're standing tall. You're standing straight, and you're actually perpendicular with the ground. You're perpendicular with the ground so that you can obviously fight gravity and you can stand on your feet. Stop. You can't play with the phone right now. Okay. So just remember that architecture is very structured. Okay. So when I go to draw this, I have a lot of structured lines. I have a lot of parallel lines. All these columns are parallel. Okay. These lines are parallel. So when I go to draw this, if I sketch out my roof, and I sketch it out like this, but then below I have the line like this, well, that's not right. The only way that would be right is if you're doing a perspective drawing where things get further away and they get smaller. But really, if it's kind of squared up like this,
I'm taking my shoes off.
okay, it's going to be pretty simple shapes to start with parallel lines. So this line should be parallel with this line up here, okay? Now, if you wanted to, which I'm not recommending for everybody, because this will cut into your time management, but if you wanted to, you could be very specific with this. And if this is the roof, and this is the next row down, it should be the same distance on this side. And then you have nice parallel lines. And really, for my perfectionists, which you know who you are, you can use a ruler to make all your lines nice and straight, because architecture has a lot of straight lines, okay? So what you want to do is you basically want to sketch out this entire thing. Obviously, I have some lines down here at the bottom that'll make up the ground. I have my columns over here, okay, and they're a little bit more narrow at the top. Okay, so I could draw all my columns going all the way across. That actually wasn't very good. I would fix that. But anyway, I think you get the point. But what I would do first, just to kind of make this really simple, is you really want to make sure that you keep it very simple to begin. So what I would do is I would just sketch for a while. Sketch. Hold on. Sketch. Make sure everything fits. Don't touch the iPad. Make sure everything fits in this picture. Okay, keep it very general, right? Because what I'm going to notice is a lot of my dimensions are already off. So I would need to slide this down a little bit. Okay, so anyway, probably not the best example. But what you want to do is you want to keep it very simple at the beginning. That way, when you get further and further into your drawing, you can start narrowing it down and getting more detail. Okay? So sketch it out very loosely at the beginning. Use very general shapes. Make sure that you're in the correct box, because we want to make sure that the scale is correct, meaning the size of this is the correct size on the paper, okay, because they are different sizes, right? Okay, my iPad is a little bit smaller than the paper, so I am going to need to blow up the picture just a little bit. But just make sure you're following the boxes. You're going to draw it the absolute best you can. You can do as much detail as possible, as much as your heart desires. You can draw as many details as possible. You do not need to do any shading. Matter of fact, you don't want to do any shading, because we're going to do the shading with the pen. And there's going to be plenty of pen tutorials. There's going to be a value mapping demonstration on how to actually apply the pen. So really, after this video, we should be pretty good to go. So you know how to draw your final draft. You know how to set up your template. Eventually, you're going to practice with the pen. You're going to start drawing with the pen. And then the very absolute last step is we will add some watercolor. Okay, Kendall, can you say bye?